is technically compound sentence. Jenny, do you mind reading this for me?
Compound sentence.
Loudly, please, towards the camera, if it's okay.
Compound sentence. Compound sentence contains two independent clauses joined by a coordinator. The coordinators are as follows: for, and, nor, but, or, yet. So, helpful hint, the first letter of each of the coordinators spell fanboys. Except for very short sentences, coordinators are always preceded by a comma. In the following compound sentences, subjects are in yellow, verbs are in green, and the coordinators and the commas that precede them are in red.
Coordinators.
So coordinators, same thing, conjunctions. We say conjunctions, but you can spit both of those words out when you're teaching. Alright guys, now you really got simple sentences, okay? You guys done a great job with that. Now we're going to start stepping it up, and we're going to start working on compound sentences. But teacher, I know what a compound subject sentence is. That's two or more subjects in one sentence. Compound sentence is two or more sentences in one. That is the key, with a special word, either called a coordinator, or at East Ferry we like to just say conjunction, okay? These just mean linking words, okay? They're going to put together two sentences together, okay? So, since we're talking about this, the easiest to remember, the basic ones. Do you know what F is? Or, and, nor, but. Sometimes people use because. For you guys, I'll accept that. That's okay. Or, yet. So, here's the last rule to the compound sentence. In front of the coordinator, or in front of the conjunction, you need a comma.
But usually you shouldn't use a comma before because, right?
Now that is a common question.
Yeah.
That's up to the author.
I see.
Some authors or some writers say, yes, you definitely need it. Other ones like, nah, you really don't. So for you guys, it's up to you, okay? If it's a shorter first sentence and then a lot longer last sentence, maybe use a comma. If it's kind of a simple first sentence and a simple second sentence, maybe you don't need it, okay? Because commas can also be used to put pauses in between ideas. And that's up to the writer as well. But for you guys, as my students, I want you to put a comma in front of all of these, except because. Or you can put because too. It's up to you guys.
Yeah.
That's no problem, okay? Great question, though. All right, so now let's write a sample conjunction. Let's see, Bobby, there's an example here on this page. Can you read it for us?
Sure. I tried to speak Spanish, and my friend tried to speak English.
Very good. What is the conjunction or coordinator in that sentence?
And.
Very good. Let's make it interesting, all right? I'm going to give you the first part of the sentence, and I want you to use a different conjunction and make a different second part of the sentence. This is a lot of fun, okay? And this will teach you how these conjunctions or coordinators can really change the idea of the sentence, okay? So, Bobby, here we go. I tried to speak Spanish, but
I failed miserably.
Oh, great job. Jenny, I tried to speak Spanish, so
I got better.
Very good, okay? Now, I got better. I know you can do better than that kind of sentence. You know, you can move them on. And then it becomes like speaking practice a little bit. All right, guys, you know what? Let's do a little extra speaking practice. We're working on compound sentences. I'm going to give you the first part. Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Come on, Bob. You can say a little bit more than that. We already talked about adjectives. Make it more descriptive. I tried to speak Spanish and
I improved after I repeated a word 10 times.
Oh, excellent job. Now, Jenny, you think you can do better? And I sometimes do that, right? I try to speak Spanish, so
I took some lessons that my friend recommended me. And
at the University of
Spain.
Very good. Now, Jenny, that was very good because it's very specific. You said a specific name of a university. So when you're teaching too, you can say that. You want them to be specific. You don't want them to use common verbs, common adjectives. I had a big lunch today. Oh, that's it? Just big? How big was it? Was it gigantic? Was it huge? Was it humongous? Come on, use better vocabulary. You know you can do it. And they know it, but guess what? They just need teachers to push them to do it. Hold them accountable to it. Okay? Basically, read this yourself and you'll get the idea.
Okay, hi guys, my name is Lauren. I'm a current teacher here at East Spirit. Today I'm just going to be demonstrating to you how I teach complex sentences to my students in a way that makes it easier for them to understand and remember. So, first off is I ask my students if they understand or know what a complex sentence. 99.5% of them do not. So, I write it on the board, complex sentence. Okay. And I tell them there are two parts to a complex sentence. So, first part, obviously, is your independent clause, or I just say the main clause, which I write down for them. The second thing I write is the dependent clause. Then I go ahead and ask my students, now do any of you know what a main clause or a dependent clause is? They don't know any of these words. So to make it easier for them, I call the main clause Superman. And my dependent clause, I call it the victim. I explain to my students the main clause is the part of the sentence that can stand alone, that can be by itself. That is a sentence if you take it out of a sentence. So I said Superman because he needs no help from anybody, and it's easy to remember. So I call this the Superman for them. The second part, the dependent clause, I explained to them, is the part of the sentence that cannot be a sentence by itself. Okay? It needs to have a main clause to go with it. So I call this the victim, the person who always needs Superman to save them or to help them. So this way it's much easier for them to remember. So then what I do is I give them an example sentence. Okay, so here's my example sentence. So the first thing I do is I tell them, or I ask them which part of the sentence they think is our Superman, the part that can stand by itself. So I'll just tell them, so this is, I dream about candy. Then I ask them, is this part of the sentence, is this the Superman or the victim? Is this a sentence by itself? They say yes. So then I say, this is your Superman or your main clause. Okay? Then, the other part of the sentence, I ask them again, what's this part called? And they say it's the victim. And I say, why? Because if you take this part out, when I go to sleep, it's not a complete thought. So it needs help from Superman to become a complex sentence. So I call it the victim. I also point out to students that commas are used in complex sentences. So usually when they're trying to figure out which part is which, in a complex sentence, I say the comma, anything before the comma is considered the dependent clause, or your victim. Anything after the comma is your complete thought, which is your Superman or your main clause. And then sometimes we'll do several examples together so they understand what a complex sentence is. But that's how I teach complex sentences. Thank you.